Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Is my voice audible? Okay, thank you very much. Let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshivadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the second verse of Sri Siksastakam, which is, I think, the most practically relevant verse for practicing sadhakas. Namna makari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kalaha etadrishi tavakra bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrishamiha janina anuragaha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Krishna is so merciful that he has invested all his powers in the holy names, but still, because I cannot give up my offenses, therefore I am not able to develop a taste for chanting the holy names. So therefore, as we saw, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives only two very clear instructions in Chaitanya Bhagavata or Chaitanya Charitamrita, that continuously chant the holy names and avoid the offenses. So as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur says, that we should diligently try to understand what are these offenses, when is such an offense committed, and how do we understand what constitutes that offense, if how do we make ourselves immune from committing such offenses, and if we have already committed those offenses, how do we rectify those offenses. So all these things are very critical to understand in order to stay offense free. So chanting of the holy names or performing any other limb of devotional service is only potent to the extent that we diligently try to avoid these offenses. So therefore it is important to understand these offenses properly. So in that context, we started discussing about these 10 offenses in a little bit more detail than what is described in the commentaries of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur and Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We have been discussing from both Shri Harinam Chintamani and from Shri Madhurya Kadambini. So this starting from last week, we started discussing about the second offense, which is worshipping the demigods as independent of Krishna. So we saw that, I'll do a quick recap of what we have seen till now. We saw that there are two types of conscious entities, Ishvara Chaitanya and Jiva Chaitanya, are independent and dependent. Ishvara Chaitanya, two categories are there, Vishnu Tattva and Shambhu Tattva. Shambhu Tattva means he accepts the touch of Maya, but he is independent in his duties with respect to the functioning of this material world. We saw that even the Vishnu Tattvas are in the absolute sense not absolutely independent, because they are all Amshas and Krishna is the Amshi. So they are not absolutely independent in that sense, but with respect to material functioning and all that, to a fair degree they are independent. Okay, so we saw that the second type of Ishvara is called by names such as Lord Shiva, and he accepts the touch of Maya, but he is not affected by Maya. So we saw Shiram Yatada Vivikara Vishesha Yogat, about the borderline or the in-between Tattva of Lord Shiva, who is in between a Jiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva, but he is definitely a Ishvara Tattva. Okay. And in terms of Brahmaji, we saw Brahma's powers is mostly borrowed powers. We saw mostly Brahmaji is a Jivatma, but sometimes when a suitable Jivatma is not available to perform that role of Brahma, then the Lord himself takes the role of Brahma. But even if Lord himself takes the role of Brahma. Still, Brahma should not be worshipped as a supreme Lord, or should not be worshipped at all actually. Hmm? So he can be respected as a Vaishnava if he is a Vaishnava, or he can respected the respect that is due to a controller, uh, that can be given, but he should not be worshipped. uh, so by Vaishnavas. Okay. So, but Brahma's position as an Ishvara should be, it is borrowed, we saw from Brahma Samhita. Baswan yatashma shakaleshu nijeshu teja swiyam kiyat prakatayat kapidatvadatra brahmaya yesha jagadanda vidana karta govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So just sun bestows a part of its powers, both heat and light, on the Suryakanta stones. But when the sun sets, the Suryakanta stone loses all its power. It cannot even be seen. It's so in the same way, Brahmaji's powers are only till the time the creation exists, and only for the purpose of creation. And after that, Brahmaji's powers are all taken away. So it is all bestowed power, and it is not inherent power. Okay, this we saw. So therefore, and also Brahmaji, when he engages in his creation activities, he is touched by the modes. And we saw Brahma can be a pious jiva, he can be a pure devotee, or he can be Vishnu himself. So when a pious jiva takes up the role of Brahma, um, uh, uh, when a pious jiva takes a role of Brahma, he can be touched by the three modes and he can be affected by the three modes. But when a pure devotee accepts the role of Brahma, he comes in touch with the three modes, but he is not affected by the three modes. And then, but if Vishnu takes the role of Brahma, then he is neither touched nor affected by the three modes. We saw this. Okay. So, and in some Mahakalpas, even Lord Shiva is a jiva like Brahma. So sometimes that also happens. It's not always. So like that. So one should understand based on understand who is worshipable based on this kind of classification. Jiva Chaitanya, Ishvara Chaitanya and Jiva Chaitanya, and then accordingly one should worship only Vishnu and not others as a supreme Lord. Okay, and then we also saw the qualities of various conscious jivas. Just to not go into the details, we saw that of the 64 qualities, 50 qualities in minute quantities are there in the jiva, ordinary jivas. In demigods, these 50 qualities are there to a higher degree. In Lord Shiva, these 50 qualities are there to complete degree, and additionally 5 more qualities are there. And in Lord Vishnu, all these 55 qualities are there to full degree, and additional 5 more qualities are there. And in Krishna, all the 60 qualities are there to an extraordinary degree, even more compared to the Vishnu Tattvas. And additionally, the 4 qualities, Rupa Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Bhakta Prema Madhuri, and Leela Madhuri. These 4 additional qualities are there, which distinguishes Rasena Utkrishyate Krishna Rupam Esha Rasastihi. So when you consider rasa, the form of Krishna is extraordinary in comparison to even the other forms of Vishnu. So this we saw. So this is where we ended our discussion. So, so therefore, understanding this, one should clearly understand as Vaishnavas, we may worship Lord Shiva as a Vaishnava. Okay, that is possible. But one should not say that the common misunderstandings, which even as devotees sometimes we have, and you all must have heard these kind of various kinds of misunderstandings, or maybe it's an understanding for you, but that is touched by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur here. Let's see the other common misunderstandings about demigods. So it is mentioned that, so we will continue this. But before we continue today's discussion, if there are any quick discussion points, comments, questions based on what we have discussed, what we discussed last week, or whatever we have summarized today, if there are any quick discussion points, comments, questions, we can take now before we start today's session. Any quick discussion points anyone would like to share? Okay. If there is none, then let's continue. Okay. So it is mentioned that some people claim that the Brahman without qualities takes on qualities when it expands as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. This is one brand of Mayavad. When they say that, when actual absolute truth is Nirguna Brahman, but when he takes on material qualities, then that Nirguna Brahman expands as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, in essence indicating that the bodies of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are all material. However, the conclusion of scripture is that Narayana is supreme and is the cause of Brahma and Shiva. Whoever rejects Vishnu as a supreme controller and takes to worship of demigods falls into the world of illusion. So sometimes we hear these kind of arguments that oh, actually Krishna is supreme, so that we will not debate at all as devotees. We will not debate the point that Krishna is supreme or Vishnu Tattva is supreme. We will not debate it. But how? But one understanding that comes through is that, look, the system of demigods is created by Krishna only. Na? It is Krishna's system. So if you want Krishna prema, then you ask Krishna. But if you want anything else, you should not be disturbing Krishna. You should be going to the demigods only. So this is one kind of an understanding that I have often heard from devotees actually. But this kind of understanding is definitely a faulty understanding, because certainly you would not have certainly heard Srila Prabhupada speak about it, or the Purvacharya speak about it, because certainly this is not the understanding. The understanding of Bhagavatam is that, okay, even if you may have other desires, what does Bhagavatam says? Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Akama, if you may have no other desire other than the desire to please Krishna. Sarvakama, or you may have all kinds of desires. You want a healthy body, you want a good wife, you want some wealth, whatever it is. Or moksha kama, or you may want even liberation. So he says, Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. One should perform Tivra bhakti. Tivra bhakti means what? Jnana karmadi anavrita bhakti. Bhakti which is not mixed by jnana, karma, yoga, etc. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So one should approach Krishna through pure bhakti, and such a person Bhagavatam calls as udaradihi. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi. Udaradihi means of magnanimous intelligence. So therefore, this argument that, oh, the demigods is a system created by Krishna, so Vaishnavas also, if they want anything else, they should approach the demigods and not disturb Krishna. It's a good argument. It sounds like a good argument. A genuine concern of not wanting to disturb Krishna, which is very much appreciated. But this is not the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, this argument is not valid. Let's read ahead and see what the acharyas have to explain about this. So here he says, other people claim that since Vishnu is the all-pervading throughout the universe and is present in the demigods as well, one can worship Vishnu by worshipping all the demigods. This is another type of argument. See, ultimately Vishnu is all-pervading, no? So he pervades, and so therefore he is present in the demigods also. So by worshipping the demigods, you can worship Vishnu. But he says, but this is not the ruling in the scriptures. Rather, this type of activity is forbidden. Okay. By worshipping Vishnu, all other worship is perfected. This is the point. Yata taror mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka. Just as by giving water to the root of a tree, the branches become satisfied, by worshipping Vishnu exclusively, all worship is covered. This is the Vedic conclusion, but unfortunately, the fools reject this precept. And so many different kinds of theories keep floating, unfortunately, even in the community of devotees. So under the influence of Mayavadi philosophy, the living entities of Kali Yuga put Vishnu on the same level as demigods, which we will not do. As Vaishnavas, at least that much we will not do, because that is easily spottable and easily, this clearly sounds like non-Vaishnava philosophy. This we will not do, of course. In truth, however, the demigods give only limited result, whereas worship of Vishnu yields all results. So therefore, reading this statement, therefore people say, okay, so therefore we can approach demigods for limited result. No, here he says worship of Vishnu yields all the results. When all the results are yielded by Vishnu, why should we approach demigods? So if the materialists can understand this truth, they will take to Vishnu worship and achieve all results. He does not say only prema. Like that. So therefore, what is the instructions to the householders? How should a householder in the Varnashramas act? Okay. So this is the question. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, generally, he should give up worrying about inferior obligations and simply worship Krishna. In other words, in all the samskaras from insemination to funeral rite, from Garbhadana samskara to Antyeshti, Krishna should be worshipped using appropriate mantras from the Vedas. Krishna mantras should be chanted. So even though these Dashavida samskaras are actually, they are actually practices which fall within the category of karma. They don't strictly fall within the category of bhakti. Okay, because the samskaras are there to nourish the false ego of, one is a brahmana, a grihastha, so which are all in one sense like material identifications. So the typical Dashavida samskaras which are described in the Dharma Shastras actually nourish this false ego, so that one can take up to the practices of the duties of a grihastha, the duties of a brahmana, the duties of a kshatriya very seriously, so that there can be some internal purification. But these kind of samskaras cannot be as it is accepted by devotees. Okay. There are some Vaishnava adaptations, like for example, Garbhadana Samskara. In Garbhadana Samskara, in a typical Garbhadana Samskara, for example, a Brahman husband and a Brahman wife, they come together and they perform certain rituals to attract a Brahmana child to their family. And those rituals are meant for attracting that kind of a child. And they don't chant 64 rounds or, do all those things. These are like proper karma rituals, which may have some element of bhakti also. But what we recommend to devotees as Garbhadhana Samskara, it may have some extra chanting, extra hearing. So here, this is not a typical Dharmashastrik Samskara. Here we want to give a very favorable devotion surcharged experience to the jiva who is entering the family. Okay. For that, you can choose to chant, you can choose to hear, you can choose to serve your spiritual master, or any kind of devotional activity which may nourish oneself and absorb one's mind in Krishna. One can do that. Okay. So that is the principle. Nothing is hard and fast in one sense. It is the principle that you are inviting a new soul. So give that soul a very devotion surcharged experience, so that he receives favorable devotional impressions. That is the purpose, right? Anyways, so even though because you are a part of the society, you cannot just the grihasthas cannot just outright reject these samskaras, especially if these samskaras have been followed in their family. So then it would set a wrong example for them. So we do follow these samskaras, but in a very solid devotionally with a devotional adaptation. One should worship the Vaishnavas and Vishnu directly, and worship the forefathers by giving them prasad from Vishnu. So this is what is recommended. Offer Vishnu prasad to the forefathers. To directly worship the demigods as the Mayavadis do will only shorten one's life. To think that the demigods are independent of Vishnu is an offense. So sometimes you may say, oh, we don't think, come on, we certainly do not say that the demigods are independent of Vishnu. That we don't say. But definitely demigods do have powers, right? So if we have some problems, if our astrologer says go to worship the demigods, we can always worship. What is wrong? They do have powers also. Yeah, they do have powers. But as Vaishnavas, is that the recommendation of our scriptures? That is the question. Because what the demigod can do, Krishna also can do, right? So then why approach the demigods? So these arguments come up, and the common argument which makes you little less guilty is, why disturb Krishna for these kind of things? Why disturb Krishna for these kind of things? We should not be disturbing Krishna. Krishna is very busy engaging in pastimes in Vrindavan, and he should not be disturbed for these kind of things. Yes, this is very good, honorable mood. The mood is very much appreciable, but this is not recommended actually. So he says that since the demigods take their existence from Vishnu, in them one cannot find full perfection. Even the controlling powers of Brahma, Ganesh, and Surya come from Krishna. They do not have independent power. Therefore, the Grihastha Vaishnava should recognize one Supreme Lord Vishnu and regard the demigods as his dependent energies. Okay. So, thus, the Grihastha, even though following the rules and customs prescribed in his caste, he may follow. Okay, because unnecessary, otherwise it would be social impropriety. Okay, if the Kuladevata is Ganesh, and if everyone worships Ganesh, you can definitely worship Ganesh. There is no problem with that. But with the proper understanding, not that Ganesh will punish me if I don't worship. No, Ganesh will be very happy if you worship Vishnu. But the point is, I don't want to be cause of unnecessary social disturbance. For that purpose, I may have a demigod photograph or a small deity, offer Vishnu Prasad to the deity. of Ganesh or Lord Shiva, so that there is no social impropriety or unnecessary trouble is not caused in the family. The family members don't go against us. So thus the Grihastha, even though following the rules and customs prescribed in his caste, will give up all those rules which include demigod worship, aimed at sense gratification, and hold firmly to the path of bhakti, worshipping him alone in all cases where worship is prescribed. Wherever worship is prescribed, only Krishna should be worshipped. In this way, the Grihastha, with his mind fixed on devotion to Krishna, will perform the samskaras of his caste, satisfy the ancestors by Vishnu Prasad offerings, and offer oblations to the demigods by recognizing them as the devotees of Krishna and then taking prasad himself. This is not mandatory, but if it is recommended in their caste and their family members very strictly follow, and they will have an eye on you whether you are following or not. If that is the case, you may follow. But in many cases, that may not be the case also. So, so he knows that by worshipping Krishna and the Vaishnavas, all the results are attained. Thus, he always chants the holy name, being careful to avoid offenses such as the second aparadh. Okay, like that. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone to share as add on this topic? Vani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Last or two, the thing behind this, there was a state worship demigods as Mayavatis do, their life will be shortened. What does that mean? One only shortens one life. To directly worship the demigods as the Mayavatis do will only shorten one life. Means what does that mean?
One thing is to shorten one's life means one will get into the realm of karma and karma will decide their lifespan. That is what it means. That is my understanding.
It is for the devotees or anyone who is worshipping demigod. It is like that. I didn't get it. To directly worship the demigods as the Mayavadis do, it is written that it means if the devotees worship the demigods.
Yeah, if the devotees worship the demigods, then Krishna will hand them over back to the demigods and allow the devotees to be controlled by the law of karma, which may essentially, you know, it will not necessarily shorten their lives, but karma will start taking over their lives henceforth, like that.
Thank you, Bhush.
Correct. Vraj Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this is regarding performing of various samskaras or some naimitika karmas in the house. So sometimes it is said that, see, you are following the path of devotional service, and maybe you are not required to do all these things as a Vaishnava. The family obligation also may not be there, but then you are unsure if your children have the same seed of devotion and whether they will be taking up to devotional service. So if you don't give them the culture of Varnashram or this Vedic culture, then neither will they have devotion, nor will they have these kind of training of following proper the samskaras, the naimitika karmas, and whatever is required according to Vedic samskaras. So for them, you should do. So how do we understand this for your children, so that they just don't fall out of anything and they kind of have no base, neither this or that. So how do we address this?
Well, I will answer this question definitely, Mataji. But before I answer this question, I would like to know, because in the, you all are senior devotees, Definitely, and I mean, many of you probably got married and started family under the guidance and guidance of Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So I just wish to have some clarity on this. I will definitely share my understanding on this. If anyone of you in this assembly would like to share, uh, what has been Maharaj's mood and presentation, what has he presented? I would like to know. Of course, I will definitely share after that what my understanding is. If you would like to share. If you wish, you can share. You can start, Mataji, and others, if they want, they can add.
Prabhuji, personally, I haven't discussed directly this thing with Maharaj, but definitely before we had a child, Maharaj told us that one important thing that you have to uh, remember, that the child should experience love of Krishna through your affection.
Hmm.
So I think uh, that's the instruction that I remember
Mhm.
prominently. But otherwise, regarding these details, I have not gotten any chance, or maybe I never had thought to ask Maharaj anytime. Maybe others who have gotten,
Yeah.
who have, they can share.
But thank you for answering, Mataji. And I remember your question. I will definitely share my understanding. But in the meantime, if anyone else would like to share, because you all have had much closer uh, association of Maharaj. So if anyone would like to share your understanding, what has been Maharaj's guidelines in this regard, anyone can share. Would you like to share? I mean, if it's too personal, you don't have to share, but if it's a generic principle, you can, yeah, and if you think it would help others in this assembly, you can please share. Yes, Giri Govardhan too.
Haribol Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
I don't know this will be in the right context, but I understand Mataji is asking that, we are practicing devotees, we are initiated devotees, and we are trying to study and live our life according to NOD, NOI, and all that. But what if our children don't take up to this process? Then they will neither be thoroughly Krishna conscious, nor will they have the proper Varnashram understanding. I guess that is the question.
Yeah, I understood the question. I understood
Yeah.
that question.
So the way I was looking at it, Prabhu, I remember a few years back, all the children who were close to Maharaj, and actually children of disciples who were close to Maharaj, once had a meeting with Maharaj. And this was close to Maharaj's birthday, in December. It was like the children coming together and celebrating grandfather's birthday. So in that talk, Maharaj, now the gathering was such, there were couple dozens and dozens of children. The gathering was such that Maharaj personally knew each child sitting in the audience. Okay. And at that time, Maharaj was explaining, now this is like a Guru Maharaj talking and a community leader talking. He said that all of you sitting here, I know you from even before you were born, and I know your parents even before they came together, and all those things. And that at that time, Maharaj said one thing. He said, most of you, your parents came to me and discussed with me that they want you to come. So you have no idea that before you were an idea, we were discussing about you, and then we were praying for you, and then all of you we prayed that all of you come. So what Maharaj was trying to explain to all the children was that once you have taken birth in this family and in this community, there has been a lot of Garbhadhan done behind it. And each soul, like once Muralidhar Prabhu stated, that each soul that is already born in ISKCON or already born in a Vaishnava family is anyway a special soul, you know. So from that perspective, the way I look at it, so this is what I wanted to share, that what is what Maharaj said, that you have come in for a purpose of dedicating your life for the mission of Guru and Krishna. He was talking to the children like that. And the way I understand it is that like Rishabh Dev says that, a father has no right to become a father and a mother has no right to become a mother if they don't, perfect the life of their dependent and their children in Krishna consciousness. So we have to give training about all this, and as per Loka Karma, Loka Sangraha, Varnashram system, because Prabhu, one question that was coming to my mind also, maybe I will ask after this question, is even though we don't have Loka Sangraha and we don't have to, do something because some family member is forcing us to do, but still because we see many other senior devotees doing it, like Kul Devi Puja. In my case also, I see so many other senior devotees, doing Kul Devi Puja. Now, they may be doing it because of Lok Sangraha. I don't have a Lok Sangraha pressure. But then I feel, अरे मेरे senior devotees कर रहे हैं, तो मैं कोई, I am not a devotee purer than them. Why should I, think that I don't need to do? So, I guess to discuss this point, I mean, I am nobody to answer this kind of a question. I guess to discuss this point, it is the parents' responsibility to give the correct training to the child. And then if the children don't take it, that's their own destiny.
Okay, bro.
I mean, I have this particular background that everybody who's born in Krishna consciousness, that soul itself is very special compared to everybody else who hasn't.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for sharing. And is there anyone else who would like to share? Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, since children are listening from childhood, all the classes of Radhanath Swami and the whole day classes are going on in everyone's house. Someone are in Brahmachari, Srimad Bhagavatam class. So by the time they grow up, maybe 4-5 years, they are very clear. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all others are demigods. And they have a lot of respect for demigod worship also. They don't, they don't outrightly, like Ganpati आता है तो उनको भी नमस्कार करते हैं लोग. But they very clearly know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So somewhere, it's not that we have ingrained in them forcefully, but just because of staying with us and because of hearing continuously the same thing, thousands of times, Krishna, it is there inside them. So I don't know whether this confusion will still arise in them. That Varnashram Dharma means they may not be able to follow proper sadhana like Sola Mala karne ka ya like other both are deity worship karne ka, but they will be, by the time they are mature, they will be very clear in their thoughts that okay, Krishna is Supreme Personality, all others are demigods, and we should respect each and every living entity, forget about demigod worship. So in Varnashram also, since they are inculcated so much character in them because of this whole ISKCON community, they will automatically respect, automatically from their heart. It's not just forcefully. They will have respect for Varnashram Dharma.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for sharing. Okay. So, I thank all three of you for sharing, Vrachandari Mataji, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, and Leela Manjari Mataji. Actually, what does, what exactly does giving a good learning experience for the children to grow in a Krishna conscious household, what does it do to the child? So what happens when someone gets some Agyata Sukriti? So when a child grows up in a Krishna conscious household and he starts getting Agyata Sukriti, actually that Agyata Sukriti, Sukriti means what? Piety. Agyata Sukriti introduces lot of pious samskaras in the child. Just like, practice of Varnashrama will induce pious samskaras in the child. Agyata Sukriti does the exact same thing. And on top of that, enhances enhances the attraction towards Krishna. So is it absolutely necessary that if there is no family pressure, and it is very, I totally agree with Prachindri Mataji's point, uh, that it is not necessary that a child born to devotees need to be a devotee. Yes, that I agree. But a child born, and I also agree with what Giri Govardhan Prabhu said, a child born in a devotee's family is very special. How? Because that child gets an extraordinary opportunity to eat Krishna Prasadam, have the association of devotees, hopefully favorable association of devotees, so that they grow up. They may not grow up to be devotees, but they may grow up appreciating devotees if they get favorable association. If they are not forced into devotional service, if they are not, if they don't get an, unfavorable experience growing in the association of devotees, then there is a very good chance that they will get lot of sukriti, and there is a chance that that sukriti may mature in that very lifetime, and they may take up to devotional service. There's a possibility there. Okay, but even if it's not there, if they at least get a very good opportunity growing while accumulating lot of Agyata Sukriti, that Agyata Sukriti does exactly that same thing which proper following of the other Varnashrama Samskaras do. Okay. So therefore, is that absolutely necessary? If there is no Loka Sangraha, if there is no Loka Sangraha needs, then in my understanding, if as parents, if we give them very good opportunity to have a very, very happy growing up in a Krishna conscious ambience at home, where they grow up, they may not grow up as devotees, but if they may grow up appreciating their parents and their friends who happen to be devotees, then that accumulation of Agyata Sukriti will bring in lot of pious samskaras also in addition to attraction to Krishna. So in the absence of a need for Loka Sangraha, if as devotee parents, if they give a very strong devotional, uh, loving, affectionate experience to their children while growing up, automatically that accumulated Agyata Sukriti will bring in material piety also. So this is my understanding. So, and mostly these devotional, the devotional ambience that we give, uh, it mostly covers most aspects of what Varnashram covers. It's not that they are completely mutually exclusive. It covers most aspects. So, um, so therefore, I don't think that a separate thing is needed. So that is why I asked, did Maharaj specifically tell that, look, there is a chance that your child may be a devotee or your child may not be a devotee also. So in the case of your child not being a devotee, it is not just sufficient that you only perform Shravanam, Kirtanam and feeding Prasadam, but you should do additional things. I don't think that is essentially needed. If in a good practicing devotees, if they lovingly bring up their child without forcing the Krishna consciousness on them, but facilitating it in a very in a nice way, and giving them ample opportunities to appreciate things, people, objects connected to Krishna, there is a with that they will accumulate Agyata Sukriti, and with the accumulation of Agyata Sukriti, natural material piety which will lead to good habits, good thought process, and good qualities will automatically develop in that. This is my understanding. Is that relevant, Mataji? Hare Krishna. We didn't hear your voice.
Haribol.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. And coming back to Giri Govardhan Prabhu's question, so Giri Govardhan Prabhu asked that, oh, the other devotees are doing their Kuldevata worship. Should we do? Well, if there is no Longraha pressure, certainly you should not do, because this is the recommendation of our acharyas. So they may have some Kuldevata, they may worship their Kuldevata purely for Loka Sangraha purposes. So if there is no Loka Sangraha purposes from your side, there is absolutely no reason why one should feel obligated for any of these kind of Kuldevata worship at all. This is the teachings of the Shastras for Vaishnavas. Okay. If it was needed, definitely Srila Prabhupada or Maharaj would have mentioned about it. So, yeah, and if you refuse to do it, someone has to build the cat, right? So someone has to build the cat. So at least they will ask, oh, Prabhuji, वो कर आप क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं? वो सीनियर डिवोटी कर रहे हैं, आप क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं? क्योंकि शास्त्र में दिया हुआ है कि करने का जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है. If this senior devotee thinks that it is needed and that senior devotee thinks it is not needed, let us go to our guru. We have access to our guru. Let us ask him whether it is needed or not. Is it needed? Will our Kuldevata get will he get angry and punish me if I don't go and worship the Kuldevata? You can always ask. At least that much access, Maharaj, at least for senior devotees like yourselves, you may at least once in a year when he comes, at least that much you can always ask Maharaj. That's what I feel. I don't think there is a need, and that's what here Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also telling. Yata taror mula nishechanena trupyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka. So it's not needed. Okay, there are some questions in the chat box. Let's try to quickly take. If any devotee was worshipping maybe Ganapati before joining ISKCON, and now he understands that Ganesha is always at the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha, so he will not put Ganesha on the same pedestal, but out of gratitude, he may offer Diya or Durva or hibiscus flower, observe, what is it? Sankashti. Okay. Thinking that Ganesha only directed me to become a devotee of Lord Krishna. Is this an offense? No, no, no. This is natural gratitude. This is very good, and a devotee should definitely do this. That gratitude he should have for Ganesh. He can definitely have Lord Ganesh on his altar, as you rightly said. May not be on the same pedestal, but maybe just right below the photograph of Narasimha Dev on his lotus feet, which is very much appreciated by Ganesh ji. Put him there, daily feed him the Mahabharata, and express your gratitude for guiding you in the right way. That is very natural devotee gratitude, and that should definitely be done. That is certainly not an offense. It is a very favorable act of gratitude that should be done. That's not a problem at all. Oh yeah, same point actually here. Prasanna Kumari Mataji is writing in the chat box. Anyways, this is in relevance to children. Anyways, we are planning to teach them Varnashram, putting so much efforts. So why not put that same energy to nourish their Krishna consciousness by facilitating Agyat Sukriti slowly? That's exactly was my answer actually. That was my answer. Okay. Then Prachindri Mataji said, that will create pressure for others. So that question was meant for, this was for Giri Govardhan Prabhu's question. I meant if you also do those pujas, then someone else may be feel pressurized. Yeah, oh Giri Govardhan Prabhu कर रहे हैं, तो हमको भी करना पड़ेगा. So if Giri Govardhan Prabhu is a counselor or a mentor, then his mentees and counselees will feel, oh, maybe my counselor is doing means I should also be doing. So of course the counselor may do it for a specific purpose. This is why education is very important. I mean, this is why education is very important. Unless, so if we are doing something which is not directly recommended in the Bhakti Shastras, and especially when we are doing something for Loka Sangraha purpose, especially family pressure, and you don't want to antagonize family members, and on top of that, if you are in the position of, say leaders like counselors or mentors, it is up to us to educate our subordinates and say, okay, look, this is the situation. You don't have to do if you don't have this kind of family pressure. Actually, this is not a part of devotional service, but we are doing it because we don't want to unnecessarily antagonize our people. But please understand, you don't have to do if you don't have this kind of a family pressure. Worshipping Krishna is sufficient. If you water the root, everything is taken care. So this kind of an education is important. So that should be given. So that is, responsible, especially if we are doing some Loka Sangraha activities. It is very important to protect the faith of the devotees, especially those devotees who are looking up to us, because they may not understand that the activity that we are practicing, our Loka Sangraha activity, they may think that it is an act of devotional service. It is a limb of devotional service. So therefore, it is very, very important that if we are engaging in these kind of activities for Loka Sangraha purposes, please educate the subordinates so that they understand the context very clearly. That is the understanding. That is my understanding. Yes, Leela Manjari Mataji. We can't hear you much. Your voice is not audible. At least I cannot hear you. You can check your microphone if it is working or not.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare
We can hear
Krishna.
you. Yeah, we can hear you.
This I understand regarding demigods or something like that. And our parents, Prabhuji's parents and my parents, they also permitted, okay, you are worshipping Krishna and you say Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, carry on, no problem. Like they also give us blessings. Don't worry about the routine Kula Devi, Kula. Matlab, you carry on with Krishna worship nicely. But regarding in OT circle, like if I buy a new house, example, I've not bought a new house, but if I buy a new house, so sometimes I feel it is subtle pressure. अरे नया घर खरीदा नरसिंह में यज्ञ नहीं किया. So that I feel nowadays कि ये थोड़ा लोक संग्रह डिवोटी लोक संग्रह हो गया है कि तो मुझे ऐसा मन में लगता है हम लोग बहुत डिवोटीज को घर पे बुला के नरसिंह आरती करेंगे तो ऐसा इलेबोरेट यज्ञ या वास्तु यज्ञ शांति यज्ञ देयर आर so sometimes I get confused regarding this particular aspect.
And don't feel that pressure, Mataji. You don't necessarily have to. That is my understanding. If you sincerely worship Krishna and you are purchasing that house to nicely serve Krishna, Krishna will certainly take care. So invite devotees, serve them nicely in your typical Srivasangan style. That will please Krishna very much, and all protection is guaranteed. You don't have to worry about it. That is my understanding.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anything else before we move on to the next theme? Okay, I think Loka Sangra for devotees is no. I didn't understand the question, Mataji. Would you like to clarify your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Like as Leela Manjari Mataji was saying that it has become like a loka sangraha for devotees, like for making them feel okay, So that is, what if just to make them feel good, you do it. You may not have that, like she has this understanding that, okay, by feeding devotees, by worshipping Krishna, having Harinam, uh, everything is taken care and you don't have to do anything extra. But some devotees are expecting, कि अरे
Yeah,
यज्ञ
how,
वास्तु
how
यज्ञ होना
come?
चाहिए,
Yeah,
इनका प्रवेश होना
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what is your recommendation, Mataji? Should she perform a yajna or not?
चाहिए. I feel if it is making devotees happy, then okay.
Oh,
Nothing.
okay. If it is making devotees happy, yeah, fine. Yeah, for making devotees happy, yeah, maybe we can do. But it is not a absolute necessity. If devotees come and chant Harinam, it's sufficient, provided we have the faith in that. But if some devotees feel नहीं आपको नरसिंह यज्ञ करना ही पड़ेगा, auspiciousness तभी आएगा, so then to please that Vaishnava we can do. If we can afford to do it, we can definitely do it. Okay. Okay, so if there are no further discussion points, comments, or questions, then we will move on to the next subtopic, which is there is actually another understanding of the second offense, which has nothing to do with demigod worship, because this set of 10 offenses is from the Padma Puran, and in Padma Puran, this is the verse: Shivasya Shri Vishnoho Yaiha Guna Namadi Sakalam Diya Binnam Pashyet Sa Kalu Hari Nama Ahitakaraha. So, Iha, in this material world, the holy name of Vishnu, Shri Vishnoho Guna Namadi Sakalam, is all auspicious. Shivasya Shri Vishnoho. Shivasya means auspicious. Shiva can refer to Lord Shiva, or Shiva can mean auspicious. Okay. So, Vishnu's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental absolute knowledge. Shivasya Shri Vishnoho Guna Namadi Sakalam. Okay. So, Vishnu's name, qualities, etc. are all auspicious. But Dhiya Binnam Pashyet. If one sees that Vishnu and his name are different, like we are different from our names, our qualities are different from us. Okay. But if we think Krishna and his names are also different, just like any other person and his name are different, Dhiya Binnam Pashyet. Sa Khalu, that certainly Hari Nama Ahitakaraha. It is certainly a kind of offense to the holy name, because you are because Krishna is transcendental, his holy name is transcendental, his holy qualities are transcendental. Therefore, Abhinnatvad Nama Namino, his name and Krishna himself are non-different. Therefore, if one tries to separate the absolute personality of Godhead from his holy name, Dhiya Binnam Pashyet, or his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, thinking them to be material, that is offensive. Harinama Ahitakaraha. This is acting unfavorably towards the holy name, which means this is committing an offense to the holy name. Okay. So he says there is one other offense derived from not accepting Vishnu as the supreme, one without a second, or Advaitattva. Being the Advaitattva, Vishnu, by his inconceivable energies, possesses inherently name, form, and qualities which cannot be considered separate from him. Okay. So, so the first meaning of this offense is Shivasya, Lord Shiva, Shri Vishnoho, and Lord Vishnu, Gunanamadi Sakalam Dhiya Binnam Pashyet. So one who sees, so this would Dhiya Binnam Chet, if Shivasya is taken to be Lord Shiva, then Dhiya Binnam Pashyet is split as Dhiya Abhinnam Pashyet. Okay. Sa Kalu Harinama Ahitakaraha, which means if you see Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva's name, form, qualities, etc. are non-different from each other's name, form, qualities, then it is Namaparad. This was the first offense which we have already read. Okay, this was the first understanding. The second understanding is if you take Shivasya to mean auspicious, then or transcendental, not just auspicious but transcendental. Shivasya Shri Vishnoho Guna Namadi Sakalam. If you consider the transcendental name form qualities of Lord Vishnu to be material and Dhiya Binnam Pashyat, and just like any other material name form qualities, if you consider it to be separate from the personality himself, Sakalu, such a mentality certainly Harinama Ahitakaraha. It is certainly offensive towards the holy name. Okay. So these are the two meanings. So this is the second understanding. Abhinnatvad Namanamino. If you do not accept Krishna's name to be actually non-different from Krishna, then नाम से क्या होने वाला है? इतना नाम नाम जप 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 करने से क्या होने वाला है? No. Holy name is non-different from Krishna. If you are unwilling to accept this, then it is an offense. This is the second understanding of this second offense. So, to consider the name, etc., as different from the Lord is to consider the Lord and the name on a material level, because only for material personalities, the name and the personality are different. This concept of duality is offensive. At the stage of Namabhas, one may hold this conception unconsciously from lack of knowledge or faith, but it is impossible to hold this conception at the stage of Prema. So, this anartha can be removed by the mercy of the bona fide Guru, who will guide the practitioner in sadhana bhakti, so that the Shuddha Nam, the pure name, is revealed. By material speculation, one can bring about this concept of duality in the Lord, and it can become a serious offense which is difficult to remove. Thus, in the case of Mayavadis, holding on to this concept is an aparad. They very clearly say, no, Krishna's name is material, his form is material, everything is material. So this is a certain offense. Okay. The Mayavadis claim that the impersonal Brahman is the supreme truth, without variety, character, or energies, without form or without beauty, without change, without activity, simply pure existence. This is their understanding of the absolute truth. For them, the name and form of Vishnu are creations of Maya, material energy of illusion. When a person overcomes illusion, then Vishnu simply merges into the impersonal Brahman, losing individual identity. This is Mayavad theory, and this is very offensive. This is all simply bad logic based on atheism. To claim that the supreme truth is without all inconceivable transcendental energies or is unable to possess character is madness. This is madness. There may be some confusion of what to call the supreme truth, Brahman or Vishnu. That is okay. Okay. How to address the Supreme Lord? You want to call him Brahman or Vishnu? That's fine. But in either case, the highest realization must be God with energies and personality. That should be the highest realization. That is the Vedic conclusion. Actually, Vishnu has both features in himself, Nirvishesha and Savishesha, without variety and with variety. Okay, Vishnu has both. He has the impersonal aspect also, and he has the personal aspect also. This is possible by the inconceivable power of the Lord, the Achintya Shakti of the Supreme Lord. All opposites are assimilated without any difficulty in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Right? By this inconceivable power, the Supreme One can exist with variety, beauty, and Leela. It is all possible for the Supreme Lord by his inconceivable energy. So, of course, the Jiva, being naturally of small intelligence, as a particle of God, cannot fully understand the nature of Lord's inconceivable power. That is why it is called as Achintya Shakti, because it is not fully understandable for us. In the attempt to establish a concept of the supreme truth by his own intelligence, the Jiva takes shelter of material logic and accepts the secondary feature of the Lord or impersonal Brahman, which is a state of unity and peace as the supreme. So this whole Mayavadi philosophy is based on material logic. Okay. So based on material logic, we apply material logic to come to such conclusions as how the impersonal aspect can be the only transcendental aspect, because any form that you have seen is material, any name is material. So therefore, how can the transcendental Lord have any name, form, qualities, etc.? But this is material logic. We are not willing to accept that there can be transcendental name, form, qualities. Just because I have not experienced it does not mean it does not exist. Right? So by rejecting the lotus feet of Vishnu, who is worshipped by the demigods, and by then being bound up in a state of Brahman, he cannot distinguish what is good or bad for his own welfare. Yenye arvindaksha vimukta maninas tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya. Aruhya krichrena param padam tataha patantyado anadrita yushmadangare. You know, such person falls down from his position of imagined superiority. This is what Bhagavatam says. But a person who can understand that the absolute truth can exist with form and variety in a pure transcendental state can properly see that Vishnu, his name and qualities are all one and inseparable from him. Okay, this is possible only if we receive the teachings properly from devotees. This concept of Krishna with personality is actual knowledge. With this understanding, one can take to chanting the holy name, knowing that it is Krishna himself. So the holy name is not a representative of Krishna. Holy name is Krishna. Thus, one must avoid the offense of thinking materially that Vishnu and his name, form, etc. are different, and of thinking that other living entities such as the demigods have an existence separate from Vishnu. This is not true. So anyways, I wanted to touch this topic also. Talking about demigod worship, Bhagavad Gita is very categorical. So Sukana says that worship of demigods is yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktam shraddhayarchitum. Sorry, not that. What is that? What is the verse which says mameva kaunteya yajante avidipurvakam yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mameva kaunteya yajante avidipurvakam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whoever worships the demigods, they are worshipping me only. But Krishna says avidipurvakam. This is not according to the vidhi that I have given. So if someone says, oh, worship the demigods, this is not according to the vidhi given by Krishna. So this is improper worship. Okay. So this is improper worship. But there is a kind of worship which is recommended in the Shastras, which Krishna talks about in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says, Jnana yagyena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pratatvena bahuda vishvato mukam. He says one kind of worship which is called as indirect worship of Krishna. That is, improper worship is to consider the demigods to be independent of Krishna. That is improper worship. There is something which is indirect worship of Krishna, indirect worship of the demigods, or indirect worship of Krishna through the demigods, which is considering Indra to be the hands of Krishna, Varuna to be the tongue of Krishna, Agni to be the mouth of Krishna, Surya to be the eyes of Krishna, like that. If one considers all the demigods to be various part and parcels of Krishna's body, and in that way they worship the demigods, that he says is indirect worship, which is also not recommended for devotees. So you may say that, oh, I do recognize the demigods to be part and parcel of Krishna. I am under no illusion, Prabhu, that the demigods have independent existence of Krishna, but they are part and parcels of Krishna only. So by worshipping them, I'm indirectly I'm worshipping Krishna. Yes, but that is not the teaching of our parampara. The teaching of our parampara is to directly worship Krishna. So when we can directly worship Krishna, when Gopinathji is directly standing on the altar, why should we indirectly worship Gopinathji through Indra, Chandra, Surya, etc.? Not that we disrespect them. We give them all the respect as Vaishnavas and as universal controllers. But our object of worship is Krishna only. That has to be very clear. So there is direct worship, there is indirect worship, and there is improper worship. Direct worship is direct worship of Gopinathji. Indirect worship is worshipping the demigods, considering them to be the various bodily parts of the Supreme Lord. That is indirect worship, still not recommended for the devotees. And then there is improper worship, worshipping them as independent of Krishna. That is a strict no, right? Like that. So to summarize this second offense, so we will do the summarization section and the rectification, and then quickly we will pause for some discussion points or questions. Maybe we'll still have some time for that. So to summarize, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, whoever is solely devoted to Krishna simply worships Krishna and gives up all other worship. This is summary. Simply give up all other worship and just worship Krishna. He does not criticize the demigods or the scriptures which support the worship of the demigods, but respects the demigods as the servants of Krishna. Some scriptures may establish demigods as supreme to establish belief in different categories of human beings. Because Krishna himself says, yo yam tanum bhaktam shraddayarchitum ichchati tasya tasyachalam shraddam tameva vidadamyaham. Krishna says that whenever I see an inclination in a person to worship demigods, I make their faith in that worship very strong. So Krishna says that. So one of the ways in which he makes that faith in that demigod worship very strong is through these various scriptures which seemingly glorify those demigods. Okay. Some scriptures may establish demigods as supreme to establish belief in different categories of human beings. In order to raise them through regulation to the point of coming to faith in Krishna and Bhakti. At least they are accepting some scriptures. So if they accept scriptures, then gradually they may appreciate other Vaishnavas also accepting the Vedic scriptures, even though they may be practicing Bhakti Shastras like that. And in that way, slowly they may come closer to devotees. So the true Vaishnava will see the function of the demigods and their respective scriptures in proper perspective. What is the function of the demigods and what is the function of their respective scriptures? Their relative position of the demigods and their scriptures, he very clearly understands. Criticism of Krishna's servants, the demigods, is also offensive. Now, one should not go overboard and start criticizing them. That is very wrong. The respect that they deserve as servants of Krishna should definitely be given to them. Since it is obligatory for the householder to worship the demigods according to his caste, he will worship the demigods and forefathers by offering them the remnants from their Lord Krishna. So he can offer. That is not forbidden. If one, it is not compulsory, but if the caste requirements strongly, if there is a prerequisite, like for example, in the case of Leela Manjari Mataji's parents and in-laws, they said, no problem, just worship Krishna, we don't have an issue. We don't have to worship any demigods. So there was no pressure there. So in that case, it's not a prerequisite, but it is not a prerequisite in that sense. Similarly, when the devotee sees the murti of a demigod, he will pay respects to the demigod, seeing the demigod as a Vaishnava. This is the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what has been followed in our parampara, and I am sure you must have observed His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj also doing the same thing, offering respects and offering prayers to the demigods as Vaishnavas. However, the devotee will not accept the prasad remnants of an offering that a Mayavadi has made to Vishnu. So these two kinds of things. Okay. There may be, you might have observed temples in which there is a deity of Ganesh, deity of Shiva, deity of where all of them are worshipped, and and they may offer boga to all the deities, and they may offer boga to Vishnu also. But there may be, for example, temples like Jagannath Puri, where boga is offered to Jagannath Ji, and that prasad is offered to other demigods, who may be within the place. That is fine. We can accept that prasad. Okay. But there may be temples, this kind of Mayavadi temples where there are different murtis and separate boga is offered. Okay. And a separate boga is offered to Vishnu also. Even that Vishnu prasad we cannot accept, because Vishnu does not accept that boga only, which is offered by this Mayavadi, who does not have proper understanding of Vishnu. So therefore, that prasad is prasad only, that should not be accepted. Because the Mayavadi's chanting and worship are both offensive, the Lord never accepts his offering. Also, to accept offerings made directly to the demigods is an offense to Vishnu and obstructs the path of pure devotional service. So if you go to a demigod temple and accept their prasad, it's not good. We cannot do that. But of course, how to deal with it sensitively, that we need to see. That's a whole different thing. But in essence, you understand that this is not fit to be consumed. So now the next question is, how do you deal with it in a sensitive way? So that we need to deal with it in a sensitive way. That is a whole different discussion in itself. But the fact is that we cannot accept. But by worshipping Krishna, the real devotee will give the demigods the Lord's prasad out of respect. Such worship and receiving such prasad is not offensive. If you very clearly understand the position of the demigods and offer Vishnu prasad to the demigods and accept that remnants, perfectly fine. That is allowed and that is recommended also. In this way, the devotee avoids the second offense in chanting the name, and by continuing this process correctly, he achieves love of God. This is the summary of the second offense. One last small topic. How do we rectify this offense? We will see this, and we will still have sufficient time for some discussion and questions. How do we rectify this offense? If by accident one should happen to turn from accepting Vishnu as the supreme, one should be repentant and take shelter of Vishnu and be careful not to commit the offense again. Okay, be repentant, accept Vishnu as a supreme, and take shelter of Vishnu and be careful not to commit the offense again. Simple, that's all. By remembering Krishna, by remembering his name and chanting his name, the offense will disappear. Okay. Because this, as we saw, there are two types of offenses, namaparad. One namaparad which is committed due to a disrespectful attitude, and the second type of namaparad which is performed due to incomplete sambandha gyan or improper sambandha gyan. So those offenses which are performed due to improper or incomplete sambandha gyan, they are not that serious as those offenses which are committed due to a disrespectful attitude, like the first offense, the third offense, blaspheming Vaishnavas, or to disobey the orders of the spiritual master, like that. These are like serious offenses. According to the Vedic literature, there is no prayaschitta more effective than this. This refers to repentance and chanting the holy name. This is because the Lord is an ocean of mercy and an ocean of forgiveness. Similarly, the devotee also forgives past faults. Okay, that brings us to the end of this second offense, discussion on the second offense of Shivasya Shri Vishnoho Yaiha Gunanamadi Sakalam Diya Binnam Pashyet Sa Kalu Harinama Ahitakaraha. Two types of the second offense we saw, that to consider the name, form, qualities, pastimes of the demigods to be independent of the name, form, qualities, pastimes of Krishna, and also to consider the name, form, qualities of Krishna to be different from Krishna himself. So these are the two types of offenses, the two meanings to this second offense, and how one should avoid, and how do we rectify this offense. Everything we have seen. So any quick discussion points, comments, questions before we wind up for the day? Anything anyone would like to share? As that we still have time, 8 minutes more. Anything anyone would like to share, ask, add on this topic of demigod worship or second offense to the holy name? Something in the chat box. Okay. Okay. Question. This is related to Leela Manjari Mataji's question. Many devotees also say that if it is a new house, then there is no need to do Vastu because Bhumi Puja has already been done. But if it is an old house, then we must do fire sacrifice in that house to purify the consciousness, as we don't know with what negative vibrations that family must have left that house. Can you please explain as it makes sense? Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong. You can always do a Narsimha Yagya. That's perfectly fine, because it is so much ingrained in our culture, that these kind of fire sacrifices are always considered to be very auspicious. So definitely, this pacifies all the family members. So most people don't know what fire sacrifice is being performed. When they see fire, they feel pacified. Yes, all negativities have been taken care. Okay. But we understand, okay, the fire sacrifice takes care, let it do its job. At the background, let Harinam go. Harinam, what is that? Mantratas tantratas chidram deshakalarha vastutah sarvam karoti nischidram anusankirtanam tava. This is the verdict of Shukracharya himself. So we understand this. Okay. So yes. So because we have been brought up in a culture where anything auspicious, there is a fire sacrifice. And we don't do any demigod fire sacrifice. We do Narsimha Yagya. But at the same time, what could be a more purifying agent than to chant the holy names of Krishna? So yes, pacify the devotees. Yes, everything is taken care. There is no negative things, because you see, Narsimha Yagya we have done. But at the same time, you think, Krishna, I have full faith in your holy names. We commit to chant the holy names every day for your pleasure. And we have full faith that chanting of the holy names will destroy all kinds of inauspiciousness. So with that faith, we also do Narsimha Yagya, because everyone is pacified. Yeah. Right. Yes, Leela Manjari, you wanted to add something.
Prabhuji, I really love yajnas, personally speaking. But the only when I saw a devotee really doesn't have money, but somehow struggling to collect money so that I can do yajna because it is must, then my heart really pained a lot. See, this kind of wave is going on in society. The devotee just can just think, okay, I don't have that much money to do so much elaborate yajna. It's all right. I can just do Harinam. Like Harinam is highest potent. Like so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, personally speaking, I don't know, but I love to sit for yajnas and I love to, if time and energy permits, I would love to do yajna every day. But this kind of waste which is going on in the whole society, like we, like Sriram Shipati was there, we never knew 7th month ceremony or some yajna, but nowadays such elaborate yajnas are happening. So sometimes devotees are not able to actually, let me be honest, they express, I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it out of compulsion. So that really hurts.
Yeah.
They
That is why.
question that, okay, time, place, circumstance, money, energy is not allowing me. Okay. Or even if it is allowing me, I'll do it in a very minimal way, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we-
That is perfectly fine, Mataji. I totally agree with your point. It is not a compulsion at all. Yeah. If such kind of pressures, one need not necessarily yield to these kind of pressures. Uh, you know, um, it's okay. If someone has, it is not absolutely necessary that that such kind of such kind of yajnas have to be performed. It is not necessary. So if they have faith in the holy name definitely purifies everything. That is good enough. So especially if you cannot afford it, I mean, it is definitely uh, not needed. Is okay, Mother?
thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, there is a comment and a question. Generally, also it creates good atmosphere or ambience, and our yajna are also accompanied by the holy name. Yeah. So I am not telling it is not. The Vaishnava yajnas are really good. I am not telling that we should not perform or we need not perform. We can perform. We can perform perfectly fine. I'm not against performing yajnas. I also personally like yajnas. I grew up participating in yajnas. So I don't have any problem against yajnas. I like yajnas too. But having said that, the holy name is sufficient. That is the point. And holy name also creates favorable ambience. So that is good enough. Anyways, okay, there is another point here. This is Radha Sangi Mataji has quoted a verse from you know uh, Mukunda Mala Stotra. Prithvi Renuranu Payamsi Kanika Falgu Svilingo Lagus Tejo Nishwasanam Maruttanutaram Randram Susukshmam Nabah Shudra Rudra Pitamaha Prabhutaya Kita Samasta Sura Drishte Yatra Satarako Vijayate Shripada Duli Kanaha. So this is mm, actually a verse from Mukunda Mala Stotra where King Kulashekar says that Shudra Rudra Pitamaha Prabhutaya Kita Samasta Sura. So one who has received the dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he considers Brahma, Rudra, and all the demigods as insignificant, and he considers the demigods like an insect, like that. So Mataji's question is, how do we understand this? This sounds very offensive. Well, certainly, I mean, this is certainly not offensive because someone like King Kulashekar would never commit an offense. So, all this means is one does not take material designations very seriously. That is what it means, because the demigods are also material designations. And even Prabodhananda Saraswati says, right? What is the verse? Vishwam Purna Sukayate Vidhi Mahendradishcha Kitayate Kaivalyam Narakayate Tirdashapura Akasha Pushpayate Durdantendre Kala Sarpa Patali Prokhata Damshprayate Vishwam Purna Sukayate Vidhi Mahendradishcha Kitayate. So, for whom yat karunya kataksha vaibhavatam tam gaurame vastumaha. One who has received the merciful glance of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he considers Brahma and Shiva like insects. So, like insects here means he is no longer affected by the material designations. That does not mean that he disrespects, um, uh, Brahma and Shiva like that. That is not what it means. It just means that he is not affected by the material designations, however great that may be. That is my understanding. Anything else before we wind up for the day? Okay, so I think we will pause here. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. We will continue this discussion. We will start the third offense, which is disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. We will start discussing on this offense from next Thursday onwards. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam ki jai. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Pad ki jai. Hare Krishna.